Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Hardwood Nation podcast with your boy CL Anthony and my main man, Michael Franz. What's up, Mike?
Yo, what up? What up? How you feeling this morning?
Fucking fantastic. I got a hurricane maybe staring at me during the middle of the week, but we'll see what happens.
Oh, you get the remnants of the hurricane that was in the Caribbean, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ian gonna start knocking on my door. But hey, if I get a couple of days off from work, that's good too. Michael,
it's funny you look at it that way. I'm in Arizona where we never get hurricanes, and I'm like, yo, I'm sending prayers over to you. You're like, yo, let me get a couple days off of work.
yeah, I just want a couple of days. Look, let me tell you real quick before we get into basketball. Florida is full of non-Floridians, right? So those are the people who panic the most.
Mhm.
Natural born Floridians, we sleep through this shit. But like New Yorkers and people who come to Florida, they wipe out all the stores, they buy all the water, buy all the toilet tissue. We're like, what the hell? We just want drinking water.
Right, right. I'm with you.
All right. So we had some pretty interesting developments that happened down the road from you. Last week, me and
Hmm.
Bryce covered the Robert Sarver situation. We didn't know that we were going to have like a result that we had this week so soon. So I know you couldn't jump on last week, but let me ask you, how shocked are you that Sarver has now said he's going to sell the team?
I think I was more shocked at the original decision from the NBA. More than anything, I mean, I'm glad. I've said it through Twitter and conversation, like just Robert Sarver being the individual he was. I wish he would have never bought the team. The
Mm,
man came out originally and said, "Hey, I just want to own a team to own a franchise. I don't know anything about basketball." And from a basketball perspective, as a basketball fan, you don't want to hear that. You know what I mean? It's like at that point, it's because you can and not because you want to. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of an arrogant move, if you ask me. You know what I mean? And it took them a long time to get some right people within the actual organization. I feel like they wasted the whole Nash years, etc. Um, just because he didn't know what to do at the time. He didn't know who to put in office. He didn't know who to put in charge, etc. And make those decisions, those basketball moves. And from a basketball perspective, they looked good, but they never won anything, right?
mhm.
So from a fan perspective, I'm like, yo, I'm glad. But even from just a human perspective, knowing what he said and knowing what he did, and I'm looking at this as a whole like Donald Sterling 2.0. Granted, there wasn't phone recordings of him actually saying these things, but there was enough evidence and enough information there for the NBA to take action. But it's kind of disappointing to me in the end result of what they came out and said. $10 million in a suspension. When Adam Silver, your first job when you came into the NBA was to deal with Donald Sterling.
Right.
You made a statement with that
Hmm.
and you completely went soft on this guy. Like, I don't know. I agree with the way LeBron spoke. I am a different position based on what CP3 said because CP3 came out and he said something after LeBron. But bro, you play for this man. What are
Oh, it was
you
so weak.
gonna do? What are
Yeah.
you gonna do? And you can't tell me you haven't been here for 3 years and nothing has happened. Are you serious? You didn't notice any weirdness in the locker room, things that he said, things that he's done. Come on now. Like I don't know. It's hard for me to not believe that, which tells me you let things go on. You know what I mean? Until it
Mhm.
came out. So I don't know. I stand just from a humanity perspective with what happened. I stand with LeBron and them, and I do condone him selling the team now. I'm glad he finally decided that because it just there's no room for any of this stuff in the NBA, and it's got to get cleaned up. It's got to get cleaned up. There's a lot of messiness in the NBA right
Yeah, it's a lot of messiness. And just to touch on Chris Paul, I don't know how much of our segment on it you saw last week, but I actually gave LeBron a lot of credit. I
now. I
did. And
appreciate that. I appreciate
I,
that. Thank you.
I, I, I strongly appreciated and stood by his statement. But I also said that I thought the statement Chris Paul made would have been the one that LeBron would have made, and then Chris Paul should have made the stronger statement. So that's what I said last week. So I was completely
Yeah.
shocked at how strong LeBron was, and also at how weak and like blanket Chris Paul's statement was. It really took me aback because I'm like,
Yeah.
you're there. And the fact that his was weak, we didn't hear from Monty Williams, we didn't hear from James Jones, who played, we didn't hear from Devin Booker. I'm just like, what's going on, right? So it took LeBron and also Draymond Green, and then also the young lady that runs the Players Association to really be at the forefront. Even CJ McCollum, who's the president of the Players Association, didn't say anything until after Sarver said he was going to sell the team. And I'm just like, where are you at? So it was a lot.
I think a lot of things pushed when the minority owner came out and said some things.
That
That's when we saw. That's when we saw, the steamroll of other public figure faces coming out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the lack of support from certain individuals in certain areas, it does kind of it worries me a little bit.
Yeah,
it does worry me a little bit.
Adam Silver lost a lot of. Let me just be real. I don't trust him anyway. I don't trust anyone who works for the owners. Let's just be clear with that. But he lost a lot of cred, especially by saying there wasn't enough evidence to do more. No, it was plenty. Like I said last week, I only read through 26 pages, and it was enough in those 26 pages where he could have forced a vote for the owners to vote him out. And I think he was protecting other owners from a vote. That's what I think it was. And that's why Draymond was so adamant. He was like, no, we want to vote. We want to see where everyone stands. So I'm pretty sure Sarver received a phone call from Silver and was like, you need to sell this fucking team to protect the league.
So then I ask you, I throw this back to you in this sense, because I know you've seen the Tim Donaghy situation, the untold story that was on Netflix, right?
Right.
Is Adam Silver now becoming the same as David Stern? The reason I say that is because if people watch that untold story of Tim Donaghy, the way that everything just unfolded, and I was one who really respected David Stern. I like David Stern. I did. But to see what he did, with kind of cutting corners and this, that, and the other, and finding out that there was 50 out of this 50 out of the 62 or 52 of the refs, 52. Right? 52 of the refs were all entangled in this, but then this got kind of swept under the rug. Things happened in orderly fashion. Collective bargaining agreements were redone, this, that, and the other. And then all of a sudden, boom, the NBA blasts off and then just sweeps under the rug. So he did a great job at this. And what I didn't like as well, it kind of worried me a little bit, was when they were kind of talking about David Stern a little bit, they showed some of his comrades, and Jerry Colangelo was one of them.
Of course.
And
the White Devil, as Charles Barkley called him.
Right. But see, Jerry Colangelo did a lot for the Suns out here. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, he was an intelligent basketball mind. In fact, he helped USA basketball too.
Yeah.
So, but he's dirty. Like, all these guys to me are just dirty. So is this now in a position where we're seeing maybe a different avenue of challenges, but are we seeing the same type of a result? So then in that case, are we insane thinking that Adam Silver is any different than David Stern?
I would say he's not different. The end game isn't different because his job primarily is to protect the best interests of the owners in the league. So that is his primary job. So do we agree with everything that David Stern did? No. But David Stern was facing the very real probability of his league being shut down. If all those refs would have been, prosecuted or whatever, the league, no one could believe in that league anymore. Period. Like it would have been dead. So he had the very tough task of making the tough decisions to say, let's just make this an isolated incident. Even though we all know it wasn't. The NBA has been rigged for years. Like, we know this. Adam Silver has a different delivery than David Stern. He's not as much as a dick as David Stern was.
Agreed.
But his end goal is the same. He has to protect the owners and the best interests of the league. He has to. So it's a tough position for him to be in. But I'm pretty sure there was a phone call made to Sarver to say, "Hey, we can't expose other owners who fucked up like you did. Um, so you just need to go ahead and sell the team, like just period."
So in that case, by saying that, do you feel that there are multiple other owners that do the same thing that Robert Sarver does, that did,
Yes.
and say
Yeah.
like treat their employees and people that way?
Yeah. And then I'll tell you one owner who I actually love shouldn't be an owner today because if you remember a couple of years ago, the Dallas Mavericks had a huge sexual harassment scandal
Hmm.
under Cuban's watch. And I mean, he was on TV like every day apologizing or whatnot, but that was on his watch. He probably should
Yeah.
have been going too because it was a
Yep.
toxic atmosphere, especially in the HR department, which was similar to what was going on in Phoenix with the misogyny and things like that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that goes on with anyone in power. Like they say, oh, absolute power corrupts absolute, or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, so all these owners have dirt on their hands. Every freaking one of them do, which is why they didn't want to vote because they don't want their dirty laundry to come out. Eventually, it might. Um, but I feel like there's a lot of blood on people's hands out there.
And what's in the dark comes to light. You know what I'm saying? And which we're also seeing what's going on here with the next topic we're going to get into, right?
That's a good
But
segue.
when exactly, with a lot of things come, whatever's in the dark comes to light, and I can't sit here and believe that out of 30 teams, only one
No.
every so often this happens with when all of your ownership outside of what one team is all Caucasian individuals.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I mean, I'll do the stereotype. I'm sorry, I'll be the one that throws it out there, and that these are older Caucasian rich individuals which have a stereotype of these type of situations, right? The power that you're talking about.
Right.
And like I said, I can't believe that only 1 in 30. No, no, no. This is a numbers game, and you only get caught when multiple things have been happening, right?
Hmm.
It was just his turn to get caught. That's all it was.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. That's where it kind of comes into play where this might be a bigger situation than what happened with referees. But if David Stern didn't want to expose the referees and Adam Silver doesn't want to expose the owners, I
Hmm.
mean, really at that point, and you can kind of see the clearer situations. Like, really, I mean, where's your integrity going anyway? You might as well, like in my eyes, you might as well, rebuild your integrity, break it down, and get these guys to change. I mean, because now it's from my perspective, I'm sitting here, okay, these refs, okay, you guys didn't expose that and clean it up, and guess what? Any of these new refs probably learn from the older guys, and guess what? The cycle continues, right? Ownership,
Right.
okay, you don't want to change anything, you just want to remove one at a time here. That's fine, but guess what? The situation still continues. If nothing changes, nothing changes,
Yeah.
and it's just a sticky situation, and it does bring out a lot of integrity for me. Where I'm like, you know what, the NBA, you're entertaining. I've always loved you, and I always will love you, but there's a black eye for me. There's definitely one.
Real quick, last thing I'll say on the refs. There was a scandal in the mid to late 90s with the referees in the NBA where,
Hmm.
and this was before Donahue, but they would take their first class plane tickets, exchange them for, I guess, coach tickets, and then pocket the money.
Yeah, yeah,
And a lot of them lost their job for that. Because if you think about it, they're on flights a lot for that 6 to 7 month period. They were pocketing thousands of dollars by doing that. So, like,
yeah.
you have a league with no integrity. You have the referees with no integrity. It's common sense to say the owners are going to have no integrity.
So what are we doing here? Are we just fools watching a game with zero integrity and falling for the bullshit, or what? I mean, that is like, okay, do I have to question? Do I have to look at myself in the mirror and question myself?
I
You know?
did that. I legit did that this offseason looking at the Miami and Boston Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah.
It was gross. And I had to ask myself, do I really deserve to put myself through the emotional stress of something that it looks like the outcome has already been set? Okay.
Right.
And it was, I told Bryce, I said, I actually thought about not watching basketball anymore because of how gross that series was officiated. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
clear.
Some of it is just so blatant and so clear that it's not even funny, you know?
Here's another good segue, right? So, clear motivation to get Boston to the NBA Finals and set them up as the next best team. And it kind of went to hell this week.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Oh man, Bostonian fans, I'm sorry for you.
and and coming off of a great offseason where they added Malcolm Brogdon, who I absolutely love, and Danilo Gallinari, but Gallinari is going to be out for the year with a torn ACL.
Yeah.
But Boston was still looking like, okay, these guys might be the team to come out of the East. They had the force of a great coach, great first year coach in Ime, and now it all went to hell. So
Yeah.
what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the specifics of the report, and then we'll go into the outcome and speculation and outlook. So we'll do that. So
Yeah.
the specifics of the report is there was a consensual relationship with MA and another female and a female person, staff member, whatever, and it ended. And then there was harassment after the relationship ended because apparently the Celtics found out about it and told them to quit. And people say he didn't want to quit and then started coming on to her more. And she didn't like that. Oh, woe is me. And then she reported it.
Mm-hmm.
None of that makes sense to me. Um, so
No, it definitely doesn't make sense.
it doesn't make sense. So my first initial reaction to you, and by the way, I saw it. It was like 8 o'clock that morning. I had no idea it had actually broke.
The night before.
I had no idea. Like I woke up, I drove to work, everything was good. I see this notification on my phone. I'm like, what the hell? I immediately sent it to Bryce. I'm like, what is going on? Do you think that someone within the Celtics organization leaked this out?
Oh, absolutely. But why though? Like, why? And I'm sorry, but that story that was told just literally sounds like, oh, I'm involved, but I don't want to get in trouble. It wasn't me. Sorry, Mr. Officer, that's not mine. You know what I mean? That's yeah. It's funny. I have a story where that actually worked for me one time. But it's a funny story. I told that story earlier this week to my brother, and he was like, "Wait a minute, what? That's what really happened?" Yeah, absolutely. But I used one of those, officer. That's not mine, and it felt weird, right? So when I look at this type of a situation and I hear that story, I'm like, that's not me. That's not my type shit. So I don't believe that. I don't believe that. When you say consensual, it takes two. So
Right.
you might as well take responsibility now that it's out. But that tells me either someone got burned on the inside, someone didn't get the raise they were expecting, somebody got treated differently than another and was like, "Oh well, I got some dirt on you, bro." Or I mean, it could be anything. It could be jealousy. It could be a dude that's jealous of the situation because I mean, really, who are we talking about? We're talking about Ime Udoka and his fiance is Nia Long. So you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know who any of the people that I know, any of the guys I know, we've all had crushes on Nia Long. You know what I mean? So it's like, is that an internal guy that's like, wait a minute, that's your fiance and you're doing this? Okay, I'm just gonna be a hater and I'm gonna throw you under the bus. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it really could be anything, but regardless, something came out. You know what I mean? And I don't know who dropped it, but it's a major bombshell.
Well, I feel like someone within the organization dropped it, and I feel like it could have been a player or an assistant coach because I know Ime is a very hard nosed coach, and he single handedly turned that team around when they were floundering last year.
Mhm.
And he might have rubbed some players the wrong way. In a workplace environment when there's relations going on, it's hard to hide that. Someone's gonna know. It's just if God, please don't cancel me. If you see a young woman around a certain head coach a lot and there's no reason for her to be around that head coach a lot, people may pay attention to that and be like, why is she
Right.
around? Not saying that's exactly how it happened, but you can notice certain things. You can see it.
Right.
Um, so Boston's presser Friday. Did you get a chance to watch that?
No, I didn't. I didn't.
Okay, so they literally spent 30 minutes between Stevens and the managing owner talking in circles, literally telling us nothing but shit that we already knew. Well,
Of
we knew
course,
you
that's
were
what they
gonna,
do.
yeah, we knew you were gonna suspend him for a year. You didn't necessarily say why you were suspending him for a year. That he just violated team policy. And then they did say, you know, some of the fans dragging some of the other ladies that work for the organization in it. That was wrong. And I might have put a picture up on the Hardwood Twitter. I have since taken that picture down, FYI. But that was the most definitive thing they said. So a reporter was like, well, if it was a consensual relationship and he's being punished, is the woman going to be punished? And the owner definitively said no. I had an explosion of red flags in my head when that happened
Right.
because now that took it into a whole nother category of theory and
Mhm.
thought processes. Because if it was consensual, then therefore she should be punished too because she also violated a team rule. So
Right.
how big of a red flag is it that this young lady is not going to be punished by the Celtics?
Yeah. I don't know. It takes two to tango. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there might have been a fear for what comes out. I mean, of course, you've got nowadays you got different groups to worry about, right? You've got, I mean, the gay activists. You have transgender activists. This, that, and the other. You have BLM stuff. Like everybody has a group these days. We've all been segregated. It's funny. We've been segregated into different groups these days, right? So, I mean, did we come anywhere from 50 years ago or not? 60 years ago? I
No,
don't
it's
know.
getting worse. It's getting worse.
So, regardless, we're segregated and separated into different groups now, and if it's almost like everybody has to weigh an option to say, okay, is it going to be bigger backlash from this side or this side? And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you're sitting here talking about a female now involved and she kind of looks as if it's a victim, then guess what? You're going to get a lot of backlash in the media from a lot of individuals these days, right? So I think that that's weighed from a PR perspective, and that's where the decision comes. It's not about what's right or wrong anymore. If it were right or wrong, like we were just talking about, things would be completely cleaned up,
Right.
or at least worked on to rebuild integrity. But that it's almost like they don't care. Now it's funny. I was joking. Now I'll mention the tweet here in a minute. But
Okay.
the tweet that I tagged you on, that I was like, well, maybe this is where the story's going, right? Some One of my buddies, I tagged him on it as well, and he was like, "Yo, who dropped this information?"
Mm-hmm.
I joked around and I was like, "Wouldn't it be funny if it were Jaylen Brown?" Oh, you want to get rid of me after I was a top performer in the finals? I got some information for you guys.
I like where you're
So
going with that.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It was a joke, but it was also possibly valid. I don't know.
I
I don't
like
know.
I like where you're going with that. I really, really like where you're going with that because
So
some people were saying Jason Tatum. No one was saying Jaylen Brown. I like that. You might be breaking news on here, Mike.
I'm
Just
just
say
I'm just I'm just saying like Jaylen Brown got what I would kind of call dragged through the mud in the offseason,
Mhm, mhm,
right? And he was dragged into the situation with KD, which nobody wants to be a part of that. And it
right,
was all
right,
nonsense anyway. Look what happened. Nothing. So
right.
all of that for nothing. And now I get to know how you really feel about me. I can perform.
Mm,
Your star that you're building the team has 100 turnovers in the playoffs in the postseason, which is an NBA record now.
Mhm.
and we lost, but yet I was still out here doing what I do. And you want to get rid of me? All right, cool. I got you.
Look, I'm
So
texting.
I
I'm
don't know.
texting Bryce. I'm texting Bryce right now about your theory. I like it. Um,
So, but it's weird because the situation is apparently a lot messier than what we know about, and that's kind of where that tweet comes into play. Is that tweet true? You want me to talk about the tweet?
in 1 second. So there is. I've seen. I watched. God knows 6 hours of this coverage yesterday. I've been watching it all week because I knew this was a very sensitive topic for us to talk about.
Mhm.
Um, all of the NBA insiders, Woj, Stephen A. Smith, um, Kendrick Perkins, we're going to talk about Matt Barnes. They all said there's a lot more that's not being said. But even Chris Richard said the same thing. They've heard what's going on, but they're not going to be the ones to let it come out. Like they know the exact details. So go ahead and talk about the tweet right now, and then we'll get into Matt Barnes.
Right. So the tweet that and I literally I saw it just skimming through Twitter,
Mm,
and when I brought it up to to my buddy, I had to go search for it again. And when I searched for it through Google, the only thing that came up was this one tweet. So is it true or is it not true? I don't know. But when you're
mm,
talking about the reactions to those individuals, I can't help but believe that it's possibly more true than not. But it's just weird, right? It's a weird situation, and it talks about him. It talks about Ime Udoka pleasuring himself within the team locker room, right?
yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, when you play the Matt Barnes reaction, it's almost like, yo, hold on, as off the wall as this may be, and that's what led me to believe, like, okay, could it be possibly Jaylen Brown, right? Because if this is true and he's doing this in the locker room, the players are
Mhm.
exposed to it, right?
Right, right.
So in that case, I'm kind of narrowing my vision down, and I'm like, okay, what player has problems in the organization right now? And to me, it
Mhm.
would be Jaylen Brown.
Right,
So
right.
to do that though is absolutely like it's asinine. It makes me not even necessarily my curiosity is piqued because I want to know the story. But do I
Mhm.
really want to know the whole story if this is the true part? Because if you're in the locker room pleasuring yourself for whatever reason, like, yo, that's an at-home situation in your own room, right? You do that in the confines of your own home, your own four walls, not even in your own home, but in your bedroom. Narrow it down even more. You're talking about doing this at work? Are you serious? Hell
Uh,
no. Hell
th-
no.
th- there could be some kind of some kind of addiction that Tiger Woods went through, so that could be a part of it. Um, the Celtics said there were multiple violations. Again, nothing specific, nothing concrete. So that could be one of the violations that they mentioned. So
Mhm.
what we're going to do is I didn't see Matt Barnes' original tweet, the one that he took down. I didn't see that, but we're going to play his reaction to finding out more information, and then I want you to respond to it. Okay?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
They won't come out and say it. And since I'm a part of the media now, and I try not to be like everyone else, I try to, you know, report and talk with facts and honesty. And I clearly have to say, last night, without knowing all the facts, I spoke on Ime Udoka's defense. And after finding out the facts after I spoke, I erased what I posted because this situation in Boston is deep, it's messy, it's 100 times uglier than any of us thought, and that's why I erased what I said. Some things happened that I can't condone, I can't back, and it's not my place to tell you what happened. If it ends up coming out, it ends up coming out. But that was the reason why I erased in my post last night, because after I posted it, I got a call from someone who had all the details, and the shit is deep. So, man, praying for everybody involved. Um, hope everyone gets through this. And I saw a lot of blogs picked up what I said, even though it was only on my page for like 2 minutes. So hopefully they pick this up too, um, for me being wrong and jumping out there without the facts. So that's where I'm gonna leave it. God bless, and I hope everyone.
All right. So pretty strong statement from someone retracting an original statement. That was pretty strong.
Right.
What are your thoughts on Matt Barnes, who we know isn't the most squeaky clean person in the world, doing a 180 on this situation?
Look, Matt Barnes. So I like Matt. You know what I'm saying? Matt was one of those players when you watched him, he got under your skin a little bit.
Yeah.
If he wasn't on your team, you hated him. If he was on your team, you loved him. You know what I mean? Like I fucks with him, right? But when I see something like this, at least he's taking accountability. So as people grow up, I've found that as people grow up and mature, accountability and responsibility, which are my two concepts that I have to, anybody that I mess with, you have to have those two, and loyalty, right? Those are my three things that are non-negotiable. So if you're in my circle, you got all three. So when I sit here and I see Matt from who he was to who he is, the man has been accountable now that he's not under the NBA contracts, NBA rules, this, that, the other. He's a free individual now. He can freely talk about certain things, right?
Right.
And a lot of things he's taken accountability for what had happened in the past, this, that, and the other. So is he a changed man? I'm not going to say he's changed. I think he's more outspoken and free to do what he wants to do now. So I think that allows to see him build his integrity and build his accountability up a lot, which I respect a lot. That's fine. Do what you do. And to see that he came out, said something, and immediately took it down, and even said on there, the tweet was picked up by bloggers, and I hope they pick this up because it's going to make me look bad. Like, he knows the result of what would happen, right? The situation still stands. It's worse than what people think, right?
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, when I'm looking and I'm searching what's going on with the details, the most that you're going to find right now outside of that tweet that I just talked about is it was the travel planner, and this person was helping the Nia Long move to Boston, right? The whole move that she had. She planned it. This, that, and the other. Like, this person had her hand in it. So it's like, it's right in my face. If I'm Nia Long, it's right in my face. It's happening. And yeah, that's a little insulting. I say little, with a grain of salt. It's extremely insulting that you're going to do this. But that's still more of an emotional tie than anything. That's more of an emotional tie between those three and their little love triangle or whatever it is. So when I hear 100 times worse, I have to immediately go to the possible worst case scenario. Now, could this also be a situation where it's a Deshaun Watson thing, right? Where it's not just one. Is it multiple females in the organization, right? Is it like, how bad can this be? Like, when you say 100 times worse and there's multiple people that are, main names in NBA reporting, and they're like, we're not talking about this. What'd you do? Did you have like 4 or 5 illegitimate kids? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's going on? What's going on here? Like, really, what is the deal? So I don't know if we're ever going to get the absolute details as the public, but I would challenge the Celtics to do this. You guys suspended this man for a year. If it's this bad, he's got to go. Sorry. Right, wrong. If it's this bad, just like Sarver has to go, this, that, and the other, then Udoka has to go. Now, here's the other point that I was making off camera. I don't know if this is a factor, but should a consensual relationship just in general be allowed? Well, once you allowed it with Jeannie Buss and Phil Jackson, you have to be able to allow it for everybody else, right? But it still stands where there's details that people won't even talk about. People talked about Jeannie Buss and Phil Jackson freely.
Yeah, that was open.
Right, right. That was open. So, to me, I would think that if it was just a basic consensual relationship where he cheated on Nia Long, well, to me, that's like, okay, y'all deal with the emotional side. It's now out in the open, but that doesn't change the way you coach this team. Something has to happen with the team and disruption of him being able to coach that makes it that bad. And
Right.
that's what's like, well, all right, what is it? What is it? And that's why I coming full circle. That's why I say, is that tweet possibly true?
The most alarming thing to me that I mentioned earlier was the fact that the second party is not going to be punished, because this is my theory, and I've ran it by a couple of people. I talked to my lady about it. There was an incident here in Florida years ago, years ago, like 100 years ago, right? They even made a movie about it, where a young lady was caught having sex with a black male. Okay. And then she pivoted her story and said it wasn't consensual. I was being raped. The town got together and burnt down the neighboring black town to try to find out who the man was. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This has been used by a certain segment of people in real life. So I think there could have been a relationship, because remember, they're saying that one, it could be multiple women. So at least one of these women we know are married to a vice president within the organization. So my theory is, even though it could have been consensual, that once it was found out, then it turned to, oh, I didn't want to do this. He made
Oh
me
yeah,
do this.
yeah. It's crying wolf. Her crying wolf.
Right. And I
Mm-hmm.
think some people are saying it could be racist for the Celtics to leak out the information, and the way the media is covering it could be racist. I don't believe that. I don't. But I believe if this is what happened, if this is what the young lady did, it's shameful. If you got caught, own up to it. I've done things in my life and I've gotten caught and I've had to own up to it. People have held me accountable. I've owned up to it. So I hope it's not that, but that's my theory on it, because her not being held accountable by the organization is still in the back of my mind. It has to be a reason for that.
Yeah. Well,
It
what does
has
that
to.
do then? What does that do then? That makes it, to me, that makes it okay for everybody else to go ahead and lead by this. You got to set an example with these situations. And what we hoped with tying the previous topic, and what we were hoping with Robert Sarver, is that he would be held accountable just like Donald Sterling did, because it was a statement situation, right?
Right.
But then now all of a sudden you've got different factors involved. Like, yo, like if something is wrong, you can't be afraid to break it, to rebuild it. People have to be able to have faith in the rebuild, right? And this, I'm sorry, so I'm not going to go off on a rant on this, but this is kind of like what we're all going through politically right now. Our economy is broken and it needs to be fixed, but nobody wants to break it and fix it on their watch.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody wants to be like, well, I'm the one that sent the US into depression on my watch.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
well, you know what? I just sent the Boston Celtics into a basketball depression, right? Oh, I just sent the Phoenix Sun. No. Hell, hold on, everybody accountable. Let's expose this stuff, because I can tell you right now, the rebuild would bring so much more if you're doing it right. And so even tying in another previous with the refs, that makes me think like, okay, so when we're sitting here watching these games and we're like, yo, that wasn't a foul. Why did you call that? Is that one of those situations? Right?
Yeah.
So I can't help but have those questions in my mind whenever situations play out. But I also have to point the finger and say, in this case, like, okay, Adam Silver or Brad Stevens, you guys aren't taking the initiative to do what it is. So where's your integrity? How am I supposed to have integrity in you? Get those questions out of my mind in a league that I love and I love watching, and I've always loved watching. Get
Right.
those questions
Right.
out of my mind and let's do this right. But that would mean exposing everybody. You know what I mean? And I know where, sometimes when there's so many names involved, the buck has to stop somewhere. And it's like, yo, we can't go any further without destruction. Come on now. Like, really, let's think about this here. And yeah, it's just opening doors for other teams, because I mean, look, there's females now being hired by every team.
Right. Right.
Right? And that's supposed to be a positive movement. into an all-male cast, so to say, a female coming in to help, whatever it is this really going to be what we're going to see from every team now?
Yeah.
They made it okay.
I would hope not, but we do know the workplace, and especially in high pressure workplaces, there's a lot of sex that goes on at work. It just is. It just happens. Okay, it happens. It really happens. One thing we know is Boston's investigation wrapped up, I believe, Tuesday or Wednesday or of last week. So there is some document somewhere that details exactly what happened, similar to the Sarver document that we did our podcast on a week ago. That document needs to be released. I think the end game here is the suspension is a charade, to give everyone time to lawyer up. I do believe MA is going to be let go, but I think they're just giving people time to lawyer up because this is going to be a fight. Because technically speaking, if there is any team violation, the Celtics can fire him without cause. Done. Done deal. But I think there's going to be a legal battle. So I think that's what the preparation is for right now. I will hope it happens quickly, but I doubt it. The interim head coach has a couple of things on his record, including battery on a woman. But he's going to be the interim head coach. So in a work environment where we're supposed to be making things better for women and giving women more equal opportunity in male-dominated fields, why is he your interim head coach?
Right.
Like there's no one else.
Completely agreed. And I agree with you in the sense that the report has to drop. And so to your point and to what I just made where I was talking about break it and fix it and rebuild your integrity, I'm going to take it to a different sport. How long did we have to wait in baseball for the Mitchell report? We had to wait. It was years.
It was over a year. Yeah.
It was like 2 to 3 years, right? But they dropped the whole 100+ page report. You could read it, and it named names. Now baseball didn't hold these people accountable record-wise. I mean, otherwise, Mark McGwire wouldn't be listed there. Barry Bonds wouldn't be listed. Sammy Sosa wouldn't be listed, right? But here's the thing. Those three are Hall of Famers, and they're nowhere in the Hall of Fame yet, and they probably won't get in, right? So I think that they're not fully held accountable, but they're held accountable to a point that does affect their legacy. And a lot of it came out because of the Mitchell report. And now we're sitting here talking about what? Aaron Judge for the Yankees breaking Roger Maris's 61 home run record. And I'm on Twitter talking about call me when he breaks Barry Bonds, right? Call me when he breaks Barry Bonds when he hit 74, right? People are like, he cheated. I don't care. Baseball still holds that record. But yes, he's not in the Hall of Fame, and he probably won't get in because he's being held accountable because of what came out in the Mitchell report as true, right?
Right.
But we saw the whole report. So where we're at integrity-wise with baseball is people have long kind of forgot. We've forgiven the steroid era for what we have now. Guys, come on. Drop the information so you can rebuild in the eyes of the fans. Stop trying to hold back and protect things, because the longer and longer it goes, you have to then live with the lie. You have to live and die by the lie. And look, it all comes to light. Tim Donaghy came to light to the point to where now they did a whole documentary on it, which I thought the documentary was really good, and it exposed even more than what I thought. But look, none of those people are even around anymore.
Right.
Wait until it's afterwards. Come on now. Just handle the business, drop the info, fill us in, because these are the type of people that we're paying to go see in a game, and our ticket payments are actually going to pay their salaries. So
I think the report is going to drop. I think they have the report. We know that. We know it. They said the investigation is over somewhere in the Boston Celtics organization. They have the report. when they make the decision, which I think in their minds they've already made the decision, they just haven't announced it yet. When they make the decision that they're going to fire him, that's when the report is going to come out because they're going to
Yeah.
use that to justify. And then everyone that will kill the questions and the speculation that everyone has. So they have to do that. What he did with everything that we said today, what he did was unequivocally wrong, but he wasn't acting alone. So both parties were wrong if they violated team rules. So we're not excusing anyone for what they did. No, what they did was wrong. The speculation on the self-pleasuring in the locker room, wrong. Having a consensual relationship with another staff member, wrong. Generally speaking, what happens is if that sort of thing happens, then someone will have to step down and leave the organization, and then it's fine. Okay, it is absolutely fine, right?
Mhm.
That makes it better when that happens in the workplace. So we're not excusing anyone for the act that was made. What we're simply saying is the aftermath of the act is where there's a lot of confusion, a lot of misdirection. I think even some lies where the Celtics was like, "Oh, we didn't leak this." Well, the fucking lawyers that did the investigation didn't leak it, so
You're right. Somebody did.
somebody did, right?
Somebody with a signature on their check that comes from the owner of the Boston Celtics. Somebody leaked it.
Right, and of course, Shams and Woj aren't going to say where they got it from. They're not gonna
Nope.
say
Nope. I want to know the source that Matt Barnes talked to. Because he said, I talked to somebody that knew everything about him on the inside. I want to hear that person come out.
Yeah. Look, Perkins said a lot of people are saying they know, but they just don't want to be the ones to.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why? Why?
Yeah.
Come on. You know, because nobody wants to be the snitch, I guess. Like, let
Right.
them handle it as it is. But like I said, that's condoning what's going on. As long as it's still kept a secret, anybody that's keeping it a secret is condoning what's going on.
Oh yeah, definitely. So to put a bow on it, how do you think this affects the team, considering they're the reigning Eastern Conference champions right now? How does this affect the team going forward? Because I'm kind of smiling a little bit. I kind of
Oh, I
want
know
some
you are.
chaos up there.
You over here licking your chops like, yo, Miami's going to go in there. We're going to smash them up. We're winning, but we're winning by 30, 40 right now.
Bruh.
I think it affects the team to an extreme point. I really do. And it's not because of the distraction. It's because that the person that was your leader and coach last year is no longer on that floor for this whole season. You have somebody that is an assistant coach. Now, everybody has their own coaching styles. When it's funny because I sit here, I've been watching like all these Lakers dynasty things, right? Like the thing that's on Hulu, and then I watched the HBO thing that they had with the winning time, right? I'm watching all these, and I'm seeing in the early part of the '80s when they had before Pat Riley took over and it was Paul Westhead, right?
Mhm.
That whole process, these guys have different ways of coaching. Whoever steps into that role has a different way of approaching everybody.
Right.
Either you're approaching the game different, you're approaching the players different, and a lot of times you have to be able to have the players believe in you first. So you have to go and be a player's coach first, right? And I don't know if any of I don't know the faith that these guys have. They're going to tell you, of course, the blanket answer on ESPN. They're going to be like, "Oh yeah, we have full faith in this. We're going to be fine. Nothing's going to happen." No. Let's be real. Let's be real. This guy's going to run practice different. He's going to run plays different. He sees things differently. So guess what? You guys are going to play different whether you like it or not.
Mhm.
So, excuse me. Do I feel like it's going to hit them in an extreme force? I do. Because you got shaken up within 2 years. You have one coach 1 year, a new coach the next, and now you've got an interim coach.
Right.
Where does it stop? So.
Right. I part of me thinks he's not going to be as hard as MA, but then another part of me is like he might actually try to be harder because he's going to be gunning for that job. Because I'm pretty sure Brad Stevens has told him, "Look, don't fuck it up. If you don't fuck it
Right.
up, if the team does great under you, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be the guy for to have this job. Um, so but I'm just like,
Yeah, I know. I know.
I'm
Well,
ready.
let me ask you this real quick before we call it here. I saw a post that was saying that was kind of it was kind of leading towards the fact that should the Celtics regret not bringing on Becky Hammond?
I don't remember them interviewing her. She was one of the teams that.
No, like they didn't even give her a chance.
Okay, got it,
But
got it.
look what happened. Look what
Yeah,
happened. Right? She went into the WNBA, and in
one
her first
championship.
year won a
Hmm.
championship.
Hmm.
If they give her the chance over in Boston, now this would have been groundbreaking because she would have been the first female coach in a male sport like that. I mean, what she showed in San Antonio, she can do it,
Right.
as an assistant, but we've never seen it on the head coaching level. But at that point, you don't have these problems right now. You don't have these problems regardless.
Hmm.
So, could you have been groundbreaking in hiring the first female? Absolutely. Would you have the problems you have now? No, you wouldn't. So that's
Right.
true. And not just that, but is she a successful coach? She is a successful coach.
Yeah.
Granted, coaching women to coaching men is different, but I mean, if someone believes in your style, you can get anybody to do anything,
Right. Right. Right.
you know?
Right.
So I don't know. There's multiple things there. It's like, yo, Boston, you kind of let a gold mine pass you in the sense of any PR work because now you're in a hole when you could have been lifted up for doing something that nobody else has been doing. Nobody else has done.
They could revisit that, in the off season. So let's say they make a move on MA and they start the interview process. They could definitely revisit that. I wouldn't mind seeing that because that'd be a huge culture shift.
Yeah.
And Brad Stevens wasn't the best coach in the world. I know people are gonna hate on me for that. I don't give a fuck. He wasn't the best coach in the world.
He had good players
But
around him that gelled well. Let's put it that way.
right. And he seems to be a man of high integrity, which you could tell visually in the presser that he was just shook by all this. No one prepares for this, so no one knows how to
Yeah.
handle a situation like he was shook in the presser. Like he looked like he wanted to cry half the time. I think he would be the one to make that move to bring in a woman head coach. I really do believe that. So um, they could definitely revisit that. You dropping two bombs today. I like it. You dropping two bombs.
Hey, it's what I do sometimes. It's 6 o'clock in the morning here, and my brain is going already. But hey,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it just happens. It happens. You know what I'm saying? So
My
I hope
goodness.
something moves positive though, one way or another.
Oh yeah. Before we leave, tell the people where they can see you at.
You can find me on Instagram, Michael Franz 0726. You can also find me on Twitter, which I am a clown on Twitter. I love talking shit. It is a fun spot to be in. You can find me as McCartney 0726. And yeah, outside of that, just my business pages, which are the Instagram is Sofrito Tan Rico. So go check it out. We got some good Puerto Rican food.
Good, because I was like, I don't even know what that means.
So frito is what we cook all of our meat in. So it's a seasoning. It's like a seasoning sauce. It
Uh-huh.
is delicious. So being in Florida, bro, you need to go have some Puerto Rican food, bro. And
Wait,
then
are you Puerto Rican?
I'm not. My wife is.
Got it. Okay. I'm like,
Yeah.
I
And
was
that's
like,
what.
I was about
So
to get you.
so fun fact. That's why I missed some of the stuff that happened on Friday. We were painting our food truck because we're about to be on the road here soon.
That's neat. And
Yeah.
I have a business of my own. I do aquarium maintenance for freshwater stuff. So I know you work hard and a lot of hours go into that. So that just takes we've already had respect for each other, but it just takes it so much through the roof that we're both, independent business owners as well. So that's pretty neat, Mike.
Absolutely. You got to be these days with the way, like I mentioned, the economy. You got to go make your own money these days. You know what I mean?
You
You
got
can't
to.
rely on this 9 to 5.
You got to. And I
Yep.
do want to shout out, of course, Bryce Ward that couldn't make it today, and Joshua Saunders of Doubted Views. All you guys I love, and I appreciate you guys jumping on. And we also appreciate the viewers. Please like, subscribe, and share our content at Hardwood Nation on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're on all the socials. I don't use them all because I'm tired, but we're on all of them.
Right.
We are
Keeping up
out.
is its own job.